We see Bitcoin's price dipping this morning after spiking Tuesday evening when a post on the SEC's official X account claimed that Bitcoin ETFs were approved. Chair Gary Gensler swiftly responded, saying that the account was compromised and the regulator has not approved any listing and trading of spot Bitcoin ETFs. So here's with what this means ahead of today's decision is our very own Julie Hyman. Hey, Julie.
Ooh, hey, I was on the I was on the air yesterday when this happened, right? When we first got this tweet, looked very official from the official SEC account, and then about 15 minutes later from Chair Gensler's own account, him saying that that other account had been compromised. It was an unauthorized tweet and their post. There is some reporting this morning that it had to do with a phone number that was associated with the official SEC account, that perhaps someone got a hold of that, and that's how they were able to get access. Whatever the case is, it sort of, in my mind, adds to some of the noise that sometimes happens around crypto, and it just feels like a very 2020s thing to have happened, right? That they came out in this way and was a false start for everyone with this very hotly anticipated suite of products. There are 11 applicants who are trying to get approval here, and today is the deadline, in particular for ARK Investments and 21 Shares, has to do with the court case they had brought against the SEC, and now they are supposed to find out today, but the thinking is that the SEC doesn't want to play favorites and is just going to approve them all at once. The expectation is that that will happen by the end of the day today, and they could start trading as soon as tomorrow.
Julie, how should investors, if we do get an approval or even down the line, how should they be evaluating whether or not buying into one of these funds makes sense for them?
So I talked to a number of different strategists, traders, both people who like Bitcoin, people who are sort of Bitcoin agnostic. One of them was Dave Nadig over at Vetify, and he said, if you didn't like Bitcoin before, don't just like it because it's now in an ETF wrapper. And that was something that was echoed by some others, right? First of all, you have to figure out, do you want to invest in Bitcoin in the first place? And there's lots of information out there about the pros and cons. One of the cons, of course, is the volatility. I talked to Tom Lee at Fundstrat, who is a longtime Bitcoin bull. There's something called the halving that is coming later this year that could cause some volatility. He said, just in general, just because you're an ETF, you're not protected from the volatility. So that's something to keep in mind. Something else to keep in mind is how much should you allocate through these ETF wrappers? And again, there's a range of different amounts. Tom Lee over at Fundstrat says 2%. Nadig said, if you're thinking about it as an alternative asset, 1% to 3%. I also talked to Matt Tuttle at Tuttle Capital Management, who's applying for a 2 times Bitcoin leverage ETF, and he said more like 5% to 10%. So again, there's a range here. And then the final question is, which one of them do you buy, right? There is a difference in fees. Some of the providers are going to be waiving fees for the first 6 months. And some of the folks I talked to said, you know what, just go with the cheapest, right? And that, again, you have to factor in the waiving of the fees. Some of the big operators like a BlackRock are on the lower end of the fee spectrum. There are also questions about which one is going to be the most liquid, right? Which can you get in and out of the easiest? And then there's the questions on the back. And I talked to Steve Sosnick over at Interactive Brokers, who I know you're going to talk to soon. And he said, you also might want to think about who is the custodian of the Bitcoin. For the majority of these, it's Coinbase. So then you think about, okay, what are the implications of that for the investment? So a lot of questions here that you should be asking if you're interested in these.
A long list of things that investors need to be thinking about before buying into one of these products. All right, Julie, thanks so much.